These are the potatoes that a couple weeks ago were hit by frost pretty bad, and now they've recovered very nicely, and they're very green and very beautiful. And potatoes are a fast crop. You can plant stuff in the same rows right after you harvest them and have plenty of room in Zone 7, plenty of time to plant a whole nother crop of whatever you want. So you can see the potatoes are looking great. They look really good. They've really recovered. They're a little bit higher than knee high, and I think it's going to be a pretty good potato crop. I've had to use spinosad because of stink bugs a few times. Potatoes do have problems. I haven't had any problems with potato beetle because the spinosad is so effective that the very first spray seems to have stopped that. So that's that. Really happy with the potato crop. I think it's going to work out, and it's looking real good. Now here's something. Sweet potatoes, as you can see, they're little, and they grow really slowly in cold weather, and they're now kind of recovering, but they have a lot of pests. Now here's something that you don't have to worry about, and I'm in Zone 7, and it's Malanga. See this Malanga? Malanga doesn't have pests, and you don't plant it in water. Malanga, it isn't like the big taro. It's a dry land arium or whatever. It's a dry land plant, so it doesn't need to be in water like other taros. It'll even rot, I've noticed, if I don't have good ventilation in the containers. But I highly think that Malanga is really good for Zone 7 and warmer. I just planted this Malanga a week ago. There's no, well, a few days ago, and there was no transplant shop because it's so tough. And the way to plant it, I just wait until spring, and the Malanga that's already been planted overwinters here just perfect. And when I start seeing the green shoots come up, I just break them, I just dig them up with my hands and separate the little bulbs and put them in the ground, or corms, and I'll put them in the ground like this. I've got it all over the place, and it's actually much more nutritious, I've been told, than potatoes. And to be honest, it does taste better than potatoes, but it has to be cooked. They say potatoes have to be cooked too, but I know people that have eaten them raw. And anyway, that's a whole nother story. As far as green potatoes, I eat green potatoes all the time with the peelings on, and I've never had any sickness or any trouble whatsoever from them. Matter of fact, I think they're more nutritious that way, personally. But anyway, Malanga, I think it's pronounced Malanga. It is so easy to grow, and I Googled it, and the first thing Google says is that it takes 10 months to a year to mature. That may be true of a short day tropical area where it's 12 hours a day every day of the year and 12-hour nights. But up here in Zone 7, where we have long days in the summertime, I don't know, 17 plus hour days, or what is it, 14 plus hours? I don't know what the hours are, but I mean, it gets light around 5:30 and doesn't get dark till 9. And these long days make it mature much faster, because every time I plant Malanga in the spring like this, it grows until frost, and then as soon as frost comes and it starts to die back, it's got a whole bunch of gigantic corms. They're bigger than the ones I got at the store, huge. So it's plenty long enough time in Zone 7 to grow Malanga, plenty of time. And so just stick it in the ground and give it water, give it some fertilizer, and let it grow. It's going to be huge. You wait and see. This stuff here will outgrow everything. It's gigantic. And like I said, you don't even have to worry about pests getting it. No deer eat it, chickens don't eat it, nothing bothers it. Of course, pigs will. They'll dig it up, but I've got a fence, so none of the pigs are going to come in here. And I think Malanga is a better plant to grow in Zone 7 than potatoes because I don't have any pests. And the good thing about it is, since it overwinters, you don't ever have to worry about buying anymore or cutting it up and doing all kinds of preparation with the eyes or the tubers like you do with potatoes. All you do is just dig it up and replant it and separate it. You just do division. It overwinters fine. You just use division when you start seeing it sprouting and break it apart. And like this little row right here, if I leave this row alone right now, and this is May, the middle of May, if I leave this alone, by the end of the year, I will have enough Malanga in this 50-foot row to plant this entire garden next year, and have enough big old huge tubers to eat. So that's just how productive it'll be. And it'll just need water. It's going to need some water because we get so dry in the summer. But that's not too much to ask for a pest-free plant. I'm surprised nobody's growing Malanga around where I live, because you don't need to live in a tropical country for Malanga. I'm sure you do for taro or something like that, but Malanga, it's growing they're even growing that in parts of northern China and parts of northern Japan, and it's so winter hardy. It doesn't turn to mush in the winter, it just stays solid and only has to be an inch underground to take it in Zone 7. I really like this stuff. I've been growing it for a while. 20 years ago I planted a plant of it by my pond and it just thrived, and I got worried when I took a leaf and ate it and I almost thought I was going to die from pins and needles, because I found out later you do not eat it raw. I got so scared of it I dug it all out and decided never to grow it again. But now I know that's just oxalic acid and you can cook it and it won't do that. And so Malanga is what I wanted to tell you about. I just love this stuff. I really think it's a good thing. And won't be too long I'll not be able to do my gardening here because my pecan trees are getting so big and they're surrounding the entire garden. And here are the tomato plants. They weren't looking so good before, but they are now. They're greening up because the weather's finally getting cold. Now these are heirloom tomatoes, so it's normal to have some wilt, some diseased ones. They don't have any hybridization at all. Just save the seeds, and whichever ones die off, they don't get to grow next year. So they lose their thing. But right here you'll see we're getting some flowers already on these little things. These all came from the seed company from Ukraine. It starts with an N, Nikarensky or something, on eBay, and they're really, really cheap, and they've got all kinds of cheap exotic seeds. I have super good sprouting germination from them. I really like them. Good seed company. Anyway, I planted these very close together so that if I had any problems with wilt or anything, it would be okay. Now I'm going to show you something. Wellsprings mulberry. Now this mulberry was called a black mulberry, an everbearer. Well, it sure is chock full of mulberries, and it's only about 7 foot tall. It's got a lot of mulberries. And the one I got by my house, it's reblooming already. It's putting on its second batch of blooms. And there's a ripe one. Almost ripe. I'm going to try that one. See what it tastes like. Yeah, it's ripe. Oh my, pretty good. What'd you expect me to say? Of course it's good.